a.m. Okay, never mind. I think we're good here. Everybody wave. Yay!
Everybody, just me and you.
Everybody. What's up, everybody? My name is Indy, and the gentleman sitting right next to me, that's Mr. J. Powell, and he is in Fantasyland, apparently.
I'm in Zelda Wind Waker world.
I never played it.
I don't know. I actually never played that one.
I don't know what it is. And this is Indie Game Business, and it's just us today. You have our beautiful faces today. We're going to be talking about, like, do you need to go to these alcohol-fueled parties, after parties at events to network? No,
you don't. That's the big thing. It's like when all of this was coming out, and all these stories are coming. I would see so many comments and people like, I don't want to go to these events, and yes, I know they're not always safe, but I have to because that's how you network. It's not. Look at me and Indy. We're old. We network just fine. We don't go to those parties. Not anymore. I did when I was in my 20s. But it's one of those things that a lot of people, it's almost like peer pressure. It's like, oh, well, we're going to the Sony party. And then you have that feeling of belonging, and you're special if you got an invite to the big party.
Yeah.
But the reality is they are like the worst place to try to network. I mean, it's so far from the reality, and that's what
you're going to go. Everyone's shit-faced. The music's really loud. I mean, I went to some after parties and made some great connections. It's like, oh, do you have a business card? Oh, I don't have my business card. Or you can just email me at blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, that would have been a good person to be friends with, but that's lost in the ether.
Yeah, it does. It's like Ammunition, who is like one of my favorite streamers just because of the titles of her stream. I think are hilarious. But I think recently she's gotten away from doing the funny ones, and I don't know. I haven't watched, but she had a photo from the last TwitchCon, and it was just like an entire table with pre-filled beers laid out, completely open. I mean, anyone could have gone by and thrown anything that they wanted in that, in one of those beers, and no one would ever know, because it's just like, I don't know, it's crazy. And, there have been some, talks along the way of getting rid of alcohol at events, and which I'm like totally for. And I know that's not going to be popular. I get it. But the reality is, it's like, what are you serving other than free beer to people? All right, so just random question, Andy. Are we live on Twitch?
Yeah, I heard people posting about that Twitch was having issues. Let me just have a look here. Twitch.tv/Indie Game Business. It says on the screen that we are, but if I go to the Twitch, we are not live there.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't just me. So
yeah, no, people were posting about it online that there's some issues.
They're probably getting hacked for some reason, and we don't know. But that's what I want to talk about today. It's like, so how do you go and do all the networking that you need to do at an event without going to the big parties? It's like we said, the parties themselves are the world's worst place to try to meet people and talk. And I've been in plenty of them. And you get in there, everybody is packed body to body. Now here's the trick.
The music's getting loud.
Then you basically just go, everybody stops at the first bar anyway. So there's always a bar further out. Just go past the first one and get the rest of them. But anyway, it's absolutely packed with people. They typically have a DJ or some sort of music going on, and you can't hear yourself think in the first place. And so you're standing there and you're basically yelling in the ear of the person that's next to you. And you don't know how many they've had. They don't know how many you've had. Sometimes you don't know how many you've had. It's that's not where you want to be networking in the first place. Now, if you're one of those people that just wants to get out there and go to the big parties just to go to the big parties, that's fine. Just be careful. But I'm not saying don't do that. But don't feel like you need to get out there and be at these late night things, putting yourself in danger in awkward situations just so you can move up in the industry. Because I guarantee you, if you sit down, the day after or 2 days after and ask the people that were there, half of them ain't going to remember they saw you anyway.
That's pretty much it. They're like, oh, yeah. Or they got too fucked up. And
yeah. It's one of those things that, don't ever feel like you have to be there, because you really don't. So, if you're not going to be there, what are you doing to network and to meet people and to, move up in the industry and all that kind of good stuff? It all comes down to, doing your homework beforehand and getting out and talking to people during the actual event. Like during going from booth to booth.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily now, if everyone is congregating at a bar after the show, that is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for everybody to be congregating at a bar during the show. And case in point is E3, in LA. So when we first started going to LA for E3, man, the Staples Center was out there like on an island. It was like there was nothing. You could come out of the Staples Center, go across a 6-lane street to the Palms and pay, ridiculous money for a dinner, or you basically just came out and grabbed a car, or you rented a car and you got stuck in LA traffic. But in the last 10 years or so, I guess probably longer than that, they built up the whole area around there. So there's a W hotel. There's a bunch of restaurants. There's actually stuff to do outside of E3 now. And all of the business people are never in the show in the first place. They're always in the W lobby. And so you go in there, you sit down, you get something to drink, whatever, water, Coke, beer, whatever it may be. But that's where all the networking and that's where all of the business discussions take place. And it's part of a problem with, traditional conferences in the first place. And I've heard a lot of conference people complain about it. It's, conference owners, the conference pays all this money to these exhibition centers to, rent the place out and all that sort of stuff. And, and then a bunch of folks that have been doing this for a long time, and I will admit,
they just go somewhere else.
Yeah, we don't even get a pass. It's like, I don't know the last time I bought a pass to GDC. Because if you're there to do business, you don't need one. Everybody is at all the hotels around the area. So if you want to, just randomly meet people, this is like one of the things I hear, now that we've moved to digital conferences, and since we've been doing it for a year and a half, it's like, well, a digital conference takes out that ability to randomly run into people. It's like, you cannot make a decision to go to an event that's going to cost you $5,000 or $10,000 in the hope that you're going to randomly run into somebody that makes it worth it. That's just nuts. So, but, if you want that level of, interaction, it's much easier to go to the lobbies, concierge, the restaurant, the bar of, one of these hotels during the day and early afternoon and hang out there, talk to people. You'll get introduced to people. It's a very natural networking scenario, and you're not, in a deafening area. You can, on the safety side, you can actually watch the bartender make your drink. And you don't have to put it down. You don't know how long it's been sitting there. You don't know anything else about it. You can watch them make your drink, you drink it, and you're sitting there and you can talk. That's where I do all of my stuff these days. When I go to a conference, I'm either on the show floor, walking around and introducing myself, or, when I'm not in a meeting, or I'm in the lobbies where I know all the business people gather. because that's just the reality of it these days. I mean, so what is it when you go? I've never been to TwitchCon. So when you go to TwitchCon, how is it?
There's a bunch of parties. There's a bunch of parties. You know, and then they have the partner event. There is the for Twitch partners, there's like a whole partner area that they have usually roped off, you know. But really, I mean, it's like E3. It's a consumer based conference, you know what I mean? They do have some like side talks you can go to and whatever, but as far as like meetings and stuff, for me, the best way is just to be on the floor and go up and talk to people at the booths, you know, get business cards, get to know people, bullshit a little bit if they're not super busy. I generally like to go to places where there's not a big line, you know, where there's, you know, because I like to bullshit a little bit. It's good to get to know somebody and talk for at least a couple minutes instead of just coming up and being, "Hi, I'm so and so. Let's talk business." You know what I mean?
Which happens, and yes, there are occasions when you need to do that. But I mean, as someone who's been, you know, networking and doing all of this stuff for many, many years, it's awkward to do that sometimes,
right?
And it's like everybody knows it. I mean, it's just one of those things that you can't be one of those people who just like immediately like interrupts everybody and jumps in it that way.
Do you see the comment from John Agasser on LinkedIn right there? And we were just talking about that too. Isn't networking mainly just keeping an eye open for opportunities to meet and connect with people you randomly bump into? Well, like Jay was saying, is it really worth, you know, however much it costs to go to a conference, 5-10 grand or whatever, you know, 3, 4, or 5 grand in the hopes of randomly bumping into somebody?
Yeah, it's one of those, John. Yes, I mean that is a very, you know, that is networking,
right?
But the point is, you can't base your whole trip around that. You know, that's the kind of networking that takes place once you've already gotten there. You know, you've got other things that are planned, and now while you're here in your downtime, you're going to network. And so, yes, that is a big part of it.
And I have went to conferences with no plan. So it's like, I'm just going to go and talk to people, right? Well, I guess my plan was that I'm going to go and talk to people. Oh, we did get on Twitch. Nice. So the Twitch channel went live.
We're on Twitter too.
Ooh, on Twitter. And I mean, my plan was just like, I'm going to go to a lot of different booths and talk about whatever it was that was going on at the time. I've done that quite a bit, you know, not had like a specific plan of who I'm going to talk to, and it's not randomly bumping into people. It's like, I'm going to go talk to this person. You know what I mean? And then.
So whenever I go to a show, you know, that's the list I make. I've got all of my meetings that I'm doing, but then I have a list of, you know, if possible, find or meet these people or companies. And yeah, that's when you go like through the conference center, or you're looking around, looking at badges, excuse me, and you're trying to find that right person. But that's one of the things that you need to do, basically, to keep from having to go to the loud parties, is, you know, sit down and, you know, we've talked in the past about how you build that schedule. You build your meeting list of your first tier, second tier people you want to meet. But I always have a list with me of, okay, if a meeting cancels, or if I have 30 minutes or an hour downtime, you know, this is who I want to go find. This is the booth. And you can go to the booth and, you know, give them your card and say, hey, look, this is what I do. Who should I, if you don't know, just say, who should I talk to? 9 times out of 10, there is somebody sitting there at the front of that booth behind a little podium or desk, and they'll tell you. I mean, that person may be completely booked up with meetings and you can't get, you know, time to talk to them then, but they'll typically either take your business card or give you the person's card that you want to meet with, and you can circle back after the show. And so that is, you know, that also gets back into why, you know, despite everything that you hear, business cards are absolutely, positively still necessary in today's world. But, you know, that's one of the tips and the ways that you go and you do your networking without going to these big parties. It's absolutely just simply using your time wisely while you're there. And you need to realize that part of using your time wisely could be going over to, such and such a bar, hotel, and just do a lap. That's that's my typical late night party thing anyway. Now, if I go to one, because now I'm old and I don't want to stay out late, but if I go to one, I come in, I get a drink, sometimes alcoholic, sometimes not. Generally, it's alcoholic.
Who are you kidding?
I know. Anyone who knows me or watches the show or listens knows I love good beer. But and then I'll do a lap through the area, look to see if people I know, wave to them, stop, say hey, but I don't stick around. I'm usually like, okay, I made my lap, because 20 years of doing this, unless you happen to find someone else who is just as comfortable, sitting there and talking and not drinking and getting hammered, and you're in a place that you can actually hear one another, they're not going to remember anyway. You're going to be able to go through and do that lap, and then the next day they're like, oh man, were you at the Sony party? And you're like, yeah, I saw you. And they're like, yeah, I saw you too. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
That was loud. Yeah.
Yes. And so from the ones that I can speak of, that I can remember off the top of my head. So E3, if it comes back, most of the business is done in the JW Marriott. Is it JW Marriott? It's the JW Hotel, whatever it is. It's across the street behind, in the new LA Live area. If you go in there, you can walk through the lobby, and it's an absolute who's who of the business in the industry. The smart developers get there early in the morning, set up a table somewhere, just find a table, find a plug to go with that table. You want to get one near an outlet, and they sit there all day
with their game. Right?
Yeah. And they'll talk to people as they come by. Bonus points if you can sit there and have your screen, like I know there's a couple of tables in the JW where you're sitting with your back to this little like half wall, and all the people that are walking through the lobby from one side to the other are walking right behind you. And so if you can sit there with your laptop open and, lean to the side a little bit, people see what you're playing, and then they'll go, oh, so, what is that? Tell me about that game. That's E3. GDC, there's like multiple places. The W across the street, that's horrible. It's a horrible place to try to have a meeting, because the bar is not very big. The whole downstairs lobby, it isn't very big at all, and everybody is packed in there. And so it's very difficult to find the person that you're trying to meet. It's very difficult. It's almost as bad as being on the show floor. But here's the catch to the W at GDC. You can meet somebody downstairs or out front, and then go in the lobby, and then go upstairs a flight or two, and it's perfectly quiet. There's not generally somewhere to sit because there's no seats up there, but you can go straight to the top and have plenty of conversations. The big, call it the big Marriott, the one with the Star Wars bar, the Star Wars bar, the Death Star bar doesn't open until like later in the afternoon. But
Death Star bar, that sounds badass.
If you, let's see if I can find a picture. It's a big old tall building, and there's the window at the top.
Looks like the Death Star or something.
The window at the top of it looks like it's the San Francisco Marriott marquee. Let's see. Can I pull this up?
Yeah.
So there's a window at the top of this thing where I lost StreamYard.
It's in your browser.
Yeah, well, when we're doing the show, it's a matter of like which browser it's in. Yeah. It's flickering. It's doing that flicker thing.
Oh shit!
This bar up here, the window looks like a. I'm going to give somebody.
That's weird because your taskbar's not flickering. Just everything else.
Anyway, but that top window looks like the big window in the Emperor's, throne room of the Death Star. So everybody calls it the Death Star bar.
Mm.
People will be there in the afternoons and in the evening, but again, it's so busy that it's hard. And that's, you'll also, if you go in the back, you come in and you walk all the way around the bar and you go like in the back area of that bar, that's where you'll find all the folks our age who were sitting down there playing board games, the big German ones that take like 6 hours to play. They're all sitting back there doing that. But it's, again, not a great place to network, just simply because it is so, there's not like walking room. But the downstairs, the Marriott, in the bar lobby or whatever. And the last time we were at GDC, they were doing renovations on it, and it was absolutely horrible. But that's a much bigger, wide open area, and it's a good place to do meetings. You can find people fairly easily. The best thing about finding an area like that is you want to find somewhere where people are going to be somewhat congregating. And if you don't have a meeting, or your meeting's not starting on time, or what have you, then you can find somebody else to chat with. And it may be somebody completely random. It may be somebody whatever. But you can find somebody else. So that lobby is really good. The Continental, which is another big one, that's usually a couple blocks down from from GDC, but it's always packed with people too. Their lobby and bar is a happening place, all during the show. But that's the reality of GDC. It's like you don't necessarily go and sit in on the lectures or walk around the halls because there's no real benefit to it.
I mean, unless you are learning stuff.
Well, so yeah, when we have clients, that we quite often, especially as GDC approaches, we'll have clients who aren't from the industry, and so I always recommend. Hold on, I just opened up a tab. I had myself in stereo. I always schedule time with them to just like literally walk around the show and see the show floor, especially if they're a tech company, if they're doing something like in the ad space along those lines, because they need to see what else is out there. They need to have a good understanding of, what their competition is, what they're doing, that sort of stuff. So I'll schedule time there. And if you are new to the industry, then yes, it is something that, you need to check out, and you need to walk the floor, and you need to learn. But it's not like it's absolutely essential to get this stuff done. What other big shows? So at Gamescom.
Well, do you want to? Let's answer this question real quick from John Anguser. Do you guys think a new convention for indies might take off, or is there still not enough money in the indie scene? I was thinking it could be all Indie 3.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, we saw years ago, PAX is basically an indie show, and they're doing so well that, before the pandemic hit, they were having 4 of them a year, and that's a lot. That's from even like logistics and the planning stages. Doing 4 shows across the world a year. They had PAX East, PAX West, or PAX West was called PAX Prime, whatever, PAX South, and PAX Australia. I don't know what they call the one in Australia. But yeah, they had 4 of them. So there is enough money. It's a matter of, finding your audience. So that, and there's another one that's just like skipping my brain right now. That's very indie focused. And he's going to kill me because it's like, I know this show very, very well, and I'm just brain farting on it. It's the one that's like happens. They do it in Austin. They do it in Atlanta, and I can't remember else. But yeah, it's another one. And so yeah, there is plenty of money to do it. The problem is, who's your audience? Are you, because you have to think about that when you're doing a show, and you have to think about that when you're going to a show. It's like, who's the audience that are going to be here? If I'm an indie dev and I want to find a publisher, PAX isn't a horrible place to go, but it's certainly not the best place to go, because PAX is mainly set up for consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, short term, I mean, I do think there's a place for it, but it's a matter of whether or not it's the best place. That's the catch, because there are so many we did the pitch your game thing yesterday on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
that was like insane.
God.
There was some great games on there.
The sheer number of them, was absolutely crazy, because I was going through it all day, like trying to keep track, and I found some that I've reached out to. I found some that I bought, in
the middle of,
yes. I bought a couple of the games that were in there. Wish listed a few more, but there's no shortage of games out there to fuel these events. But it's a matter of, where are you going to do them? When are you going to do them? Are you going to do something that's geared to helping indies on the business side, or are you going to go and do it, based on a consumer show? And you can do both. I mean, that's what Gamescom is. But Gamescom is massive. I mean, E3 or GDC is like, yeah, we got 30,000 people. Gamescom's like, we got 300,000 people, to come. So it's I mean, to be blunt, John, I have a hard time telling indie devs that it's worth their money to go to shows if it requires them getting on an airplane. It's like PAX, all the PAXs are great shows. And yeah, you get a lot of good, feedback from developers and everybody else. I mean, and consumers while you're there. But, is it worth dropping $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to get there?
And then with all the coronavirus shit, and you wear a mask, and oh my God.
That's the thing. It's like, to have this discussion, we have to we have to do a little bit of suspension of disbelief and go, oh, okay, wait, we're going to pretend there's not a global pandemic.
Yeah. In Oregon, today, actually, the governor enacted that everybody inside of public spaces, or, if you're in a public space outside where, you're close with people, you have to wear a mask, and all through Oregon. Oh, and that's a whole nother thing, but
yeah, we got that too. And today, the governor in North Carolina is going to announce whether or not they are, announce what we're doing in terms of school for the next year. So that's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. But that's another thing, and who knows what it's going to be like in a year. Who knows if, all we can do is speculate. I'm just going to speculate that everyone's going to get the coronavirus at one point or another. A lot of people are going to die. Some people won't. I don't know. Man.
I'm typing something in here. All right, so let's do from the top.
Okay.
How do you network at a conference and do it right? So if one, you sit down all the shows, and again, we're pretending that we're going to real shows again. All the shows are going to have lists of speakers. They're going to have lists of who's there. The good ones are going to have something like Meet to Match, which has a functioning search system, and I don't consider GDC's meeting system functioning because it sucks. But you'll be able to get an idea of who's there. So you first go through and you triage the publishers or the marketing teams that you want to meet with. Get your whole list, and then just like we talk about, when you're going out and finding a publisher, triage it down to a first list, second list type thing. Send out your meeting invites. Get your meeting scheduled. Then you want to come up with that secondary list of, okay, here are the people that I want to meet with, or I want to at least get introduced to if I have time in between, sessions or anything along those lines. And that, if you really want to go old school, I don't even know if they make these anymore. Surely they do. But if you can get a map of the show floor, that's even better, because sit down.
All conventions I've been to, you get the booklet. It's got a map.
Well, a lot of them have
numbers.
Digital. apps. And, not to be like the old guy, but that's not nearly as useful because let's face it, 9 times out of 10, when you get in there, your phone stops working anyway because the Wi-Fi is like completely overcrowded, or they're charging for it, or you have no signal in the building. Or for one reason or another, you can't always depend on, your phone to do that work for you. I would actually take a map, have it with me, and circle the booths of the places that were on my want to meet list. And so that way, if I got to a meeting or if I finished a meeting and I look at my schedule and it's like I got half an hour or an hour free, I can like immediately look around me and go, okay, there's a booth right over there with somebody I wanted to meet with, and go over and introduce myself, drop off a card, whatever. Then as you get towards, if you have a big space, a big area that you don't, in your schedule where you don't have anything to do, that's when you can go outside the convention center and go and check out and see where people are congregating. It's not hard. I mean, years ago when everybody was smoking, it was very easy. You could find the bars immediately because all the folks, that were smoking were standing out front. And it was easy. It's like, oh, a bunch of game dev people over there. There's like 15 people standing out having a cigarette. That's when you can go walk around, look at name tags, make sure your name tag is turned around properly. That's what always happens with mine. It gets flipped around and everybody's looking at the backside of my badge. But go out and do your networking, during the show hours or early show hours. Then by the time you get to dinner and you're done with dinner, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to go to the networking parties because, again, they're loud. They're absolutely full of drunk people. And you can't have a conversation and talk anyway. And as this has happened before, even if you do give your card to somebody, that person gets up the next day and they were like, who was this? Well, I don't know why I have this card or where I got it. Oh, sorry. Coffee. So is there anything else that you do when you go to these events?
Whoops. There we go.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I do the same thing. I look at the map. Like I want to go here, 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 here. Actually, for me, if it's a multi-day event, my first day, I don't want to do anything. I just want to wander around. But that's me personally. I will wander around and figure out where everything is and like check out the landscape of everything. But I'm more of when you go to events, you like set up meetings and you got meetings all day. I have been like the wanderer, and that just kind of, I go up and just start talking to people. So here's another question from John. Are indie game competitions worth entering this year since most events are going digital? On the flip side of the coin, are there more opportunities to show off your game this year since it's all digital?
Yes and yes. So I did an article earlier this year where I said, look, this pandemic is not like the end all be all catastrophe for indies, because that's what I was hearing. I was seeing so many of these articles and they were like, oh my God, without GDC and without PAX, then we're never going to be able to show our game off to publishers. We're never going to be able to get feedback from the crowd. And it's wrong. That's not reality. So here's the article. I'll post it in chat.
Okay. And John, speaking of competitions, just yesterday, it was called Pitch a Game. I'm going to type in the Pitch Ya Game. I wonder if that goes up on LinkedIn. It does not. No idea. It does not go up on LinkedIn. Here, let me just type it right here. I'll just make a banner. So this was kind of a competition, but not like a competition.
No. It's a competition. People are getting awards.
Okay, here we go. So just look up Pitch a Game on Twitter, and you will see that there was so many entries into that just on Twitter. Nightwolf, are there any indie game conferences hosted on Discord?
So our conferences are always, it's hard to say hosted. because you can't do video. Your video on Discord only goes to like 50 people, and that doesn't really help. We always have, networking special channels on our Discord server for our conferences that we do. Ludicious, which is going on right now, and I'm participating in that one. They have their own, Discord as well, set up just for the conference, and there's 300, 400 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there are, but back to John's question, there indie game competitions, as long as they don't cost you anything, are always good to enter. You have to weigh the effort versus reward, but at the least you're getting your game out there. People are seeing it, and you can get feedback. It's like I posted in the midst of the pitch your game thing yesterday. It's like, if you want business feedback on your game pitch, my DMs are open. And I had a lot of companies come to me and go, "So what do you think?" And I told them. So I mean, you can get feedback. You can get eyeballs on.
See, there was some networking right there, right?
Yeah. And so they're absolutely worth doing. It's a matter of, is it something they're going to charge you an entry fee to and all this other stuff? And then you got to kind of weigh your options. And you're not going to get, well, I say you're not going to get as much, viewership, but I mean, you will, because it's especially if it's on Twitter or something like that. I mean, I would say the worst that I've seen, and it's not intentionally worse. It was the Steam indie game thing where they had like 900 demos or something like that. It's what you're doing needs to be curated in some way, shape, or form. That way the cream rises to the top. And if you're not in that cream, you're getting feedback on why, and so you can work on it and go for the next one. But yes, the short answer is they're absolutely worth entering. And as for, are there more opportunities to show off your game? 100% yes. So we have a spreadsheet that lists all the upcoming digital games, and I honestly have to update it because I haven't updated it in a few weeks. But we sat down a couple of months ago and went through it, and you could literally go to every single one of them for cheaper than you could go to GDC in real life. And now that GDC has released the pricing for their August event, I mean, it's like $300 some to go to a virtual event. Ours is $50. And if you know the guy running it and you convince me that you're having hardships, I'll give you a pass. I don't care. I want you to find a publisher. I want you to find, support for your game. But the reality is, even with the digital GDC, you can go to a lot of these events completely free. It doesn't cost you a dime to go. It costs you time. That's one of the problems, is there are so many of these things going on. I mean, just in the last 5 business days, we had Indigo on Friday, which was, put on by the Dutch game developers, but it was open worldwide. Had Big coming out of Brazil, the Brazilian Independent Game Festival, which was huge. And I did that one and got a few leads, may have gotten a client or two out of it. Actually, I did. I got a deal for one of my clients out of a big one. So that was absolutely worth it. And then, today, Thursday and Friday, we got Ludicious, and I've already had 2 meetings this morning, from that one. And I've got another probably dozen meetings over the next 2 or 3 days. And I'm giving a lecture tomorrow morning, or I'm on a panel in the morning. So they are, this is an absolute, it's like I wrote in that article, this is an absolute gold mine of opportunity for indie devs right now, because you can get access to all of this knowledge, all of these publishers for a tiny fraction of what, you could do at a show. And you've got better access to them too. Publishers at shows, their schedule is booked up a month to 2 months ahead of the show. That's just the reality of it. We start, when we manage GDC for trade organizations and developers and that sort of stuff, we start GDC planning the 1st of January. The show's not till like mid-March. but that's what we have to do, to make sure that we know who everybody needs to meet with, that we go out and we get the meetings and that sort of stuff. Part of that is
the meetings are all rushed.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, you got a 30-minute slot, but you got a 10-minute meeting. I really like my chair, by the way. I'm just going to ADD that one out there, because it just
the little headrest looks comfy.
I rarely use that. But so you get a better meeting at a digital event, but publishers are so hard to get a hold of at a conventional event because there's so much stuff competing for their time. We know as an industry, you're going to go to, and there are two shows that I consider mandatory. If you're doing global business, you need to be at GDC, you need to be at Gamescom. And then you have, all the other DreamHack was the one I was thinking about earlier. The other indie focused one is DreamHack. So you've got your pocket gamers, Casual Connect, which is now called Game Daily Connect. Those types of shows, the Nordic Game Festival, I call them regional shows. They're not as big as like a GDC or a Gamescom, but they're not like a mom and pop shop either. They're absolutely worth going to. They're just not always worth flying across the world to go to them. So a publisher knows they're only going to get FaceTime with people, 2 or 3 times a year. And then they have all of the obligations from the marketing teams and from, they're meeting face to face with the developers they've been working for. They just have less time. Whereas, digital events, one of the benefits of there being so many of them is the fact that, you've got, for the publishers that are participating in a lot of them, if you don't get a meeting, this week with somebody, you may get a meeting next week. I mean, that's exactly how, I went through the Ludicious meeting scheduler. It's like I had our CRM open on one side and the meeting system for Meet to Match open on the other screen. And if I saw it, when I found a publisher, I would go check the CRM and say, okay, when was the last time we talked to them? We haven't, are they answering us? Are we having conversations about our clients' games? Are they not? Do we need to kind of like refresh this, relationship? And if so, I scheduled a meeting with them. If I didn't, then I didn't worry about it. But, I know that we got Ludicious right now. We have our event coming up in 1 month. Then we got Gamescom Digital coming up at the end of August. And I don't know what's going on in September and October, but I'm sure there's going to be more. I mean, we'll have another IGB event by the end of the year. So there's absolutely worth it to get into the digital events. And yeah, if there are indie competitions, there were teams yesterday that got a lot of views and retweets and likes just from their little pitch for their game. And so it's a very long way of getting around to saying, yes, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
So yeah, well, there are, about the Discord side, there are indie game conferences happening. Whether or not they're happening on Discord is a different story because Discord's not exactly a great platform for hosting video and all that stuff yet. But I've been preaching the beauty of biz dev on Discord for a long time now. It's certainly out there. Oh, sorry.
What are you drinking?
Water.
What?
I gotta lose weight.
I'm surprised. Oh, I guess it's Wednesday, so
yeah, it is Wednesday. That too. But I've been told I need to be on a diet, so I'm drinking more water. If you've got questions, so if you're out there watching, we've still got like 15, 20 minutes minimum that we're going to ramble on here. If you've got questions about how you network at conferences, how you pick which conferences you go to, how do you attack a digital conference, anything along those lines, let us know, because today we are all about debunking and busting the myth that you have to go to these alcohol fueled late night loud ass parties. Yeah. What else is going on, Andy? Does anybody know why Dr. Disrespect got banned yet?
No. No.
I'm going to pop in here and see what some of the questions that we had earlier were. But I mean, at the end of the day, having a good event just literally comes down to planning it properly. And if you do that, and if you go into it with that mentality of you know what you want and you know where to find the people, then yeah, you're gonna be good to go.
Oh, it's cool. It is playing on Twitter. Neat.
Aren't we like, so fancy right now?
Yeah, super fancy.
I am looking to see. Did we skip anything? Did we miss anything? It just seems like we have more to talk about, but yeah, I'm not thinking through it right now.
No, I mean, we don't have any questions. Oh, here we go. Are vertical slice demos worth showing? Vertical slice demos are certainly worth showing off. That's what you want to show as a vertical slice.
Yeah, you're not gonna realistically get a meeting with a publisher unless you have that vertical slice.
Right.
It's pretty much mandatory at this point. We used to say
that's really the whole purpose of having a vertical slice.
Yeah, but there's like different versions of a vertical slice, and so
the vertical slice is like if you have different levels of a game, you have one level that's pretty much complete, right?
Not always. God, I wish I could remember what game.
Or for a demo, you want to kind of show all of the features, even if like in some games you level up throughout the game or whatever. You want to be able to show like not the very beginning of the game, but like stuff in the middle and kind of like the best, coolest stuff of it. Right?
That's absolutely one aspect of this. It's like you want to be able to show, don't just show your newbie RPG guy wandering around with a wooden sword and that sort of stuff. You want to be able to show all the cool stuff,
right?
As quick as possible, because you literally, in this day and age, when you send that video to a publisher, you've got about 6 seconds into that video before they're like, okay, yeah, this is me, this is not me, I'm not sure, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know this because I looked at a load of videos yesterday. But vertical slices, it's hard. So yesterday, and I can't remember the name of the game, it was a 2D slider. They had a great elevator pitch too. And it was the video. It wasn't a vertical slice. It wasn't a whole level. It just showed the character like, typical 2D side scroller, and they were jumping on a block. And then they got to a spot. It was like, there's no way that they can make it. And the camera tilts, and that 2D face fronting map becomes a flat, like isometric map. And the character just starts walking on what was the sky as a floor and move something over so he can then go back. And it was just like, oh my God, that like 8 seconds of video completely encapsulated what made that game different. And it did it just like that. Didn't show it a whole level. I mean, it may have even just been like a GIF. It wasn't even a full blown video. I'll see if I can find it. The beauty of these things is, it's like going out and pitching to win contract work. And I tell all of our clients, you're not going to win the first couple of contracts that you sit in there. You're going to have to deal with a lot of rejection in the meantime to get to the point where you're going to get a deal. Right. And so that's part of what, it boils down to when you're pitching these games. It's like, you're not going to get, a deal the first time around, but it's absolutely worth pitching so you can get feedback. Here it goes. All right, Andy, I'm going to send you this link and see if you can put it in
something dark side.
Yeah.
All right. Drop it. Send it. Come on.
Hold on. I don't move these things fast enough. All right.
Back when I was your age. That's not a link for me.
This is, in the stuff that I saw going through.
I can't click on any of those.
You can from the actual. if you have the actual window open for the platform.
I don't.
Oh,
Can you just send it to me in Discord?
you're so needy.
Needy? Just send it the easy way. Make me open up 14 windows.
So I mean,
okay, here we go.
We talk about the elevator pitch, and that's one of the things that, you know, the easiest way to boil it down is your game is game A meets game B with insert unique something, whatever's unique about
it. Something dockside.
This video was like the best example I saw yesterday of boiling a elevator pitch into a very short video / GIF. It's not long.
Let's see here. Share screen. This one. Boop. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Let's see. There's audio in there. Okay. Wait. Okay.
So watch this little dude. Jump. Uh-oh. And there he goes. And now all of a sudden.
What?
Yes. That is absolutely just dead on for, what you need to be able to, what a publisher wants to see. It's not long. I wouldn't call this a vertical slice, but it is real quick, just shows you exactly what is unique. Why is this game different with that little view?
That's super cool.
I know it is. So, I mean, that's what it is. It's hard to sit and say, you have to do a vertical slice or whatever, your game needs to be at alpha or your game needs to be at beta, because that in so many ways is so dependent. It's open to all kinds of, different interpretation. A vertical slice means one thing to somebody and something else to somebody else.
Right.
But if you can show, if you can prove that game A meets game B plus unique selling point, and you can do it in a video, you're good to go.
Oh, you know what? I saw this pitch, 2D and Top D. That's what it is. I'm wish listing it. Oh, you can download the demo.
See, this is what happens when you participate in these things. The pitch your game thing is awesome. And I know Liam's going to be doing another one. I got a peek at some of the behind the scenes stuff that was going on there, and it's a lot of work to do this stuff. I mean, that's the full blown reality of it.
Right.
I mean, even I can't.
I got the demo.
There was a lot of good games that were posted yesterday. But and it's easier. It's all in. This is where I think having that conference or having that event like the picture game things is still good, even if they're happening more often. It's like Screenshot Saturday, which has now gotten to the point that it's just like a constant blur of post. But once a month, sit down and do like a 1-day event. He left he had the judging open for like 12 hours. And so as long as you posted something about your game and used the hashtag, then, you were entered. And, there's going to be awards handed out. And I mean, we donated free passes to our event for, the gold, silver, and bronze.
Oh, wow.
Games. Because I mean, it's like, how could we not? The whole reason we do these things, these events, is to help developers find publishers. And so it's kind of, shitty for me to say, hey, look, you had a great pitch. You should talk to a publisher. But I mean, here, you got to pay $50 to do it. I mean, it's cheaper than paying $300 at GDC, but yeah, that's not.
Speaking of that, if you are interested in that, go to indiegame.business. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. It's August 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah. And we have speakers.
Yeah, this time's got speakers, and I will be posting. I have been posting about that on the IGB, Facebook, and Discord, and on LinkedIn as well. I'm going to be posting all the speakers over the next coming weeks, and then reposting about them again. So let's see. I just posted Junie was up there. Larry Cooperman I posted about yesterday.
there's more on the site, and there's more that I haven't even put on the site yet because I'm getting all of their
contact info.
getting everything like finalized with everyone.
Yeah, and there's some great subjects for the talks too.
Yeah, but and we're still looking for speakers too. There's a couple of areas that we need good speakers for. We're short on community management talks because we're doing it like I did, when we first started doing the show. It's not like I just sat down one day and said, "Oh yeah, let's do a digital event and throw it together." We went out and talked to a lot of teams and just to find out what you wanted to hear about. So there's still a couple of areas that we need to get speakers for. Influencer marketing, community building, crowdfunding. We may have somebody from Kickstarter doing crowdfunding.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be good. Managing Discord. We still need some people for self-publishing, working with IP, running an indie studio, legal. I got a couple. We're going to be doing a legal AMA. I know that one, which is funny when you do that with lawyers because most of their answers are, I can't talk about that. So we're going to be doing
it could be a AMAA. Ask me almost anything.
Well, no, you can ask anything. Whether or not you get an answer is going to be a different question, but you can ask whatever you want.
So then it would be an IAAA. I'll answer almost anything.
Yeah, that's a good one. That works. So here's the actual. This is like a long URL, but I'll post it in here anyway. If you have something you want to share with the world, some knowledge that you have that you don't think you have, go to that link, and it's just a form to fill out.
Talking it up.
And, submit your talk, basically. Here's the thing, and this is the reason we started this show in the first place. If you've been in the industry for 5 years, then chances are there are things that that other people don't know, and you don't realize it. I had been in the industry 10 years before I came to that realization. But if you've been doing this for 5 years, I'm pretty certain there are things that that you assume everybody else knows.
But they don't have no clue.
And that's what we want. We want, people to come in and talk about stuff that other teams can learn from.
So are the talks interactive? Like, is it like this where people can just type in chat?
Yeah. That's what me and you got to talk about at some point soon. But yes, it's going to be just like this. They are going to be either on YouTube or Facebook because we have to pick one.
So we're going to run the talks just like this.
Well, if you got to get a ticket, but the ticket's free. That's the part we got to figure out.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be. We want them to be interactive. I'm encouraging people to do panels or fireside chats or AMAs because I've done enough of these virtual speaking events at this point now too that I can sit around and go, you know what? If we're just like listening to somebody talk for an hour and a half and there's like no back and forth or anything, it's just going to get really dull and boring. So
unless people are super exciting,
Well, yeah, I know, but you can't sit there and listen to that for 8 hours a day. We got to have some variation in there. So
maybe we can have like 15-minute speed talks, 10-minute speed talks, all the info in 10 minutes. Will there be live chat, Q&A, or is that only for the meet to match? Yeah, he was just talking about. There should be live chat.
Yeah, we just got to figure out which platform it's going to be on.
Yeah, that's the top secret right now.
Yeah, top secret. We ain't figured it out yet. You need to get the QA part. Yeah, you're going to need to get a ticket for it, but the ticket's free. So it's just to get logged into the platform. And yeah, that's just the reality of it because we got to do something so we know it's not going to be completely and utterly trolled. Something. Yeah. So that's what. But any other questions? I've got ludicious meetings to get to shortly. Okay. But
yeah, I have work too. I got to go pick up my truck.
We have important. We have important things that we're working on. If you've got any questions, again, about networking events, staying safe, not putting yourself in vulnerable positions where you're, out late in a city you don't know about, drinking, and you don't know if somebody's put something in your drink or not. This is the point to ask. But to recap, basically it boils down to planning ahead, making sure that you already know who you want to talk to, do those meetings, identify the people that you want to try to run into, go to the places during the day or early evening, like, hotel lobbies, hotel bars, that sort of stuff. Get your networking done while everybody is sober, basically, and then go home and get a good night's rest.
Yeah, for tomorrow.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we were doing something tomorrow. I'm like, what are we doing tomorrow?
Get a good rest for the next day of the conference.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite things to do when Casual Connect was still back in, was still happening. And it was in Seattle, was they would always hold it at the Benaroya Hall, which is like an opera house, which is, at first glance, a weird place to do a video game conference, but it worked. But you could come in the mornings, and you came in the door, and there was like the lobby, not really like a hotel lobby, but there was a big open, I forget what you call it. Maybe we'll call it a lobby, that had the major booths in it. And there were stairs that went up like a half a story to where you entered the main concert hall. I would get there in the morning and grab a cup of coffee and stand halfway up or at the top of those stairs and just watch. Because one, you had a good vantage point. If there was somebody you wanted to see or somebody you wanted to meet, you could find them really easy. But the funny thing was, as the week went on, and Casual Connect was typically like 3 days. So the first day you get there, get up at the top of the stairs, the place is packed, 9 in the morning. Everybody's there. Everybody's talking. Everybody's like shoulder to shoulder. It's like tough to get around, walk through there. The next day you go and not as many people, still pretty busy, but you can easily walk around, find people. The third day, the Friday of the show, it was like a ghost town till like 11 o'clock because everybody had been out drinking and going like to the Big Fish party or, my favorite one was, this is like the party I did always go to at Casual Connect because it was just awesome. They rented out the aquarium in Seattle and they had a party in the aquarium after hours. It's just, nerd me just love that. But
I think that was why they had the Bloody Mary booth and the hangover booth in the morning one year. Yeah, that was great.
I mean, because everybody would be out, and by the end of the week, nobody wants to do a meeting before like 11 o'clock because they're all hungover.
Yeah.
And part of it, I was just taught different when I
go
started.
And drink like 3 Bloody Marys, and then
I can't stand Bloody Marys.
It's
like God, no. Just give me some orange juice and Gatorade and some aspirin, and I'll be fine. But it's I would when I came into this is like the old man back in my day.
Back in my day, we just took shots of tequila in the morning to get rid of our hangover.
I can tell you, from my earlier days. But it's one of those that we would be out late, and but it was you can do it when you're younger, and it wasn't nearly as bad as it is now because you typically knew everybody. I mean, it was a very much smaller industry. But yeah, these days don't fall into that rabbit hole of, I have to go out to these parties because otherwise I'm not going to be networking and I won't be social and I won't be seen.
And I won't be cool.
And don't let people peer pressure you into it. I'm 43. People still trying to peer pressure me into, oh man, come on to go. And I'm like, no, I'm old. I'm going to bed. It's like, I'll see you in the morning. But the way I was taught from day one in this industry was, when you're at a conference, that's like one of your few times a year that you have an opportunity to have FaceTime with people. Spend it getting FaceTime with people. Don't spend it drinking and recovering the next day. And so
nobody likes hangover breath anyways.
Nobody does. But anyway, so do your research. Circulate early evening in the hotel bars, hotel lobbies. Walk around. The last day of the show, last thing I'll mention before we got out of here, the last day of the show is a great time to work the floor because most people are done with it. The people that are there, with the booths are still there. They'll start slowly disappearing around lunch.
Yeah.
But the morning of the last day of the show is the absolute best time to work the floor, talk to people, not have to fight crowds, and actually be able to talk to people you need to be talking to.
I agree with that sentiment.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much. You can listen to this later on at anchor.fm/indie game business. You can, oh, wait, here, let me go ahead and post the banners up here. Bam. All of our past podcasts at anchor.fm/indie game business. You can get free access to the Meet to Match in Indie Game Business San Francisco Summer Edition 2020, which is August 4th through 6th. You can just go to indiegame.business. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com Indie Game Business, and follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/businessindie to get all the latest news and updates. And like I said, we're on Discord, discord.gg/Indie Game Business, and you'll find us. We'll be back Friday. Do you remember who we got Friday?
Marco Betancourt with Red Cat Pig.
Ooh, that'll be a good one. What are we talking about?
Running an indie studio remotely in a pandemic from the Azores island off the coast of Europe.
Oh, that'll be an interesting one. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Take care, everybody.
Have a great Wednesday. Peace.
Bye.